So like there's an awful lot of people really, really struggling and finding things really, really tough. And maybe just a word for those people that would be watching our podcast tonight.
I think there definitely was a massive amount of stigma about it. Like certainly in the last generation, like like in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that. Like if if you had mental health problems, you're a character as such. You know what I mean, or whatever. You know what I mean. It wasn't really taken seriously. You might be told to cop onto yourself. You know what I mean, and wise up like. But I think that this kind of generation are kind of more conscious of the fact that, like, this actually is a serious thing. It is an illness. Like I've been brought to hospital in the back of ambulances, thinking that I'm going to die from having panic attacks and stuff like. And that is the worst feeling in the world. Like I thinking that my lungs were going to collapse, or that like I was going to have a heart attack, and like I had to medicate myself for a while. Like the doctor gave me Xanax and stuff like this, and that helped me a lot. But the side effects I didn't really like and made me feel groggy. But one thing I'll say is like for people to think like people will judge me, or to feel that kind of embarrassment or something. Like it's important to talk. I've lost 6 of my friends to suicide in the last 5 years, and I wish to God that they would have just said something to me. You know what I mean? We could have had a chat. But I think a lot of people, if they feel like that, there really is like they've kind of made their decision, and I kind of have to make my own peace with it as well, and say like if this is how bad you were feeling, and I hope that eases your pain, but it's never the answer. You leave behind so much grief for families and friends, and um, there is good services out there. There's probably not adequate to the challenge to the amount of mental health issues that there is in Ireland. But one thing I will say that directly will help is exercise, eating well. If you are taking drugs and stuff like that and drinking a lot, that doesn't do you any favors. Like exercise, even if it's getting out for a jog, and if it's not a jog or walk or getting out into nature, just if you spend too much time, like when I'm not touring, like I don't do anything outside of this. I have a daughter, and like she entertains me. But if I don't have my daughter with me and I'm sitting around doing nothing on my time off, I find that like my mind just goes to, you know what I mean. It's like your mind goes somewhere. You need to keep yourself occupied. Like exercise is like the number one cure for depression and anxiety. Like anxiety is unreleased energy inside you. You know what I mean? So if you spend that energy, you're not going to feel that kind of anxious, and you just feel good about yourself. You know what I mean? It really helped me. I done a lot of cold water kind of therapy, or whatever you want to call it. But I'd go out to nature, and there's some beautiful places in Kildare where you can just go. It's out in nature, and like especially this time of year, it's freezing cold. And you get into the water, and you could have a bad day. It could be so much things going on, but once you get into that water, it's the only thing you're thinking about is like, I need to breathe. You know what I mean? And you get out and you feel refreshed. You feel like you've accomplished something. So, just for anyone that is going through a tough time, like you just reach out to people. Like people do care. Like, and the last thing anybody wants is to be at your funeral, or to see you struggling, or see you suffering. And it's a horrible feeling to not feel comfortable in your own skin. But exercise, I would say, watch what you're eating, watch what you're putting into your body, but definitely exercise. Like if you go into the gym, even if you only do just something light, you'll come out and you feel good. And if you can kind of get to do that, it will help you a lot. But I think it's stacked up against kids. They're growing up in a generation now where they're constantly comparing each other to themselves, and it's all a very false thing.
Everything's online.
Yeah, it's all a very false thing. You're seeing the most you're seeing a very altered split second. Like you see these young girls, and they might take 1,000 photos, and they'll pick the best one, and then they'll edit it. It's like it's not real. Like, and all these kids are comparing themselves to that. Like, it's like that's no way to live. Like, so yeah, my heart goes out to them, but definitely just just exercise, look after yourself, and yeah.
I think what you're saying there as well about, being willing to talk to people is a huge thing as well. Because I'd say a lot of people feel like they don't want to burden people. I think how much bigger is the burden of having to plan a funeral and having to plan a life without you.
Well, this is it.
So,
See, this is it. No, like I'd much rather hear your problems than hear your eulogy. Honestly, yeah, like yeah.